This episode is brought to you by Jersey Mike's. Points in the paint. It's that time. Ann and Mary, delighted to have you with us. All right, Mary Murphy. Dog days are over. It's tournament time. It's March Madness. Let's go. Is it going to be wide open at the Orleans Arena in Vegas for the WCC women?
Well, it's going to be wide open, but think about where this started. This started at the second week of December with Oregon State going to Pacific. That's when it started. And now we have finished the regular season, 20 games. Everyone played each other twice. And now we know where we are with this bracket. And I don't think you can say who's the favorite. I know that Gonzaga has the number one seed. Portland's right there. Washington State at 3, Oregon State at 4, and then, USF. And then from there, it moves on. And I really believe this is going to be a tremendous tournament with upsets. And not that upsets make coaches and teams happy, but upsets are what it makes a tournament spicy and makes a tournament something people want to watch, because the drama that this conference has had with overtime games and close ball games. And if you just put Portland's numbers and Oregon State's numbers together for close games, it's been unbelievable. And that's what we're going to see. And I'm sure the coaches are going to be practicing a lot of end of game situations between now and the tournament time.
I am really intrigued by some of the earlier games that will run into those teams that have gotten the buys and double buys. I think we've got you speak of spicy. I think we're going to get spicy.
Yeah, I mean, we kick it off with Pepperdine as the 10 seed against San Diego. Pepperdine beat San Diego both meetings this year. A rookie coach in Katie Faulkner, her first tournament, and Cindy Fisher in her 20th year. We know that this will be her last tournament. I'm sure her team's going to just play their butts off to get out there and get her a win in this tournament. That game is going to kick things off, and it's only going to get better from there.
You and I have been waiting for the brackets to be solidified, and we've also been waiting for the hardware to be given, the awards to be announced in terms of WCC Player of the Year all the way down to Freshman of the Year. I'm going to group Gonzaga together in terms of the haul this program has made. We'll start with Vonnie Ejim, and we'll make our way down. But tip of the cap to the fifth year, everything out of Canada, Vonnie Ejim, your Player of the Year again.
Yeah, and what has she done? She led the WCC in scoring, in rebounding, second in field goal percentage, and sixth in free throw percentage. So on both sides of the ball, does an amazing job, and was a leader on a team that was just decimated by graduation and had to find themselves and figure out how they were going to win ball games. They start conference play 1-2. And all of a sudden, we're all kind of like, well, maybe that's it. Maybe their run is over. And all they did was was it 15 in a row, Ann? I mean, they just go on this amazing run and really just another sensational season. All-time leading scorer at Gonzaga, all-time leading rebounder. She's on every, you name all the awards lists across the country. She's on all of them. And one of 5 active players in Division I basketball with 2,000 points and 1,000 rebounds. Her accomplishments are amazing. What she's going to do after basketball, amazing. Wants to be a doctor. She is the pinnacle of what we want a WCC student athlete to be.
Okay, so second straight Player of the Year award for Vonnie Ejim. Okay, second straight Defensive Player of the Year award for Yvonne Ejim. Both ends, baby. Both ends.
And it's, we have to remind people, these are voted on by the coaches. And Defensive Player of the Year, a lot of times it's like, who has the most steals, who has the most blocks, who has the most, this and that. But it's a player that coaches know who it's hard to score against. Who do you have to, try to figure out a way to get them out of position so you can get some points on the board? And 2 years in a row to be the Defensive Player of the Year is really quite amazing. But maybe part of this whole formula is who the Coach of the Year is. And
let's just dovetail right into Lisa Fortier winning the WCC Coach of the Year award again. What she has done in her tenure at Gonzaga cannot be overstated.
It can't be. And it's interesting when we did their game most recently, I think at Oregon State. And when we were talking to her, it's just about what a different experience this year was for her, because she wasn't, running undefeated and just trying to figure out who she was going to put in the game to just get to the finish line. she had to go out there and like do like what all of us coaches have to do, which is try to win ball games when it's tight, when you have injuries, when all kinds of things are going on. So it was a very different experience for Lisa Fortier and her staff this year. But boy, they came out again, started 1-2. Everyone's kind of like, I guess the run's over. But no, the run wasn't over. They're back, finishing a tie for first with Portland and get the first round bid because they won the season series with Portland.
And coming off of a really tough spring and summer, diagnosed with breast cancer, surgery, wasn't sure if she was going to be able to go this year. And what she has done to rise above, an inspiration to her kids, to that program, to that town, to all of us, and tip of the cap.
And Anne, when you talk to her, she's just like all of us, right? She just comes over, just tells you what's going on. Her daughter walks over and just says, "Hey, can I go, dribble a little?" Like, sure. I mean, she's just such a regular person, but such a good coach and such a great person that, when she wins awards like this, you're like, congratulations.
Time. And she and Vonnie are that glue in terms of that veteran, the stewards of that ship. And then there's Allie Turner, Gonzaga freshman, who has blown the doors off of scoring as a yearling. Single season, she is going to go down as one of the all-time great scorers at Gonzaga, but already as a freshman, this year's freshman of the year, setting all kinds of records.
Yeah, and think about the shoes she had to jump into. I mean, the Trongs, does it get any better at the guard position for Gonzaga with all of those years? And the freshman comes in from St. Louis. Just how deep was the water going to be? And you finish with 13 points a game, 4 assists per game, and you shoot 46% from three when people know it's coming, and you still can't slow her down. And she's shooting close to 50% from three. It was a remarkable year, just sort of coming of age when she needed to. Turnovers were a problem early. She got a handle on that. But certainly a big part of this team turning things around was her really picking up her play.
91 triples for this youngster. 91 triples. She's chasing Brenna Maxwell's record single season of 96 threes. This is a freshman chasing what Brenna did last year as a seasoned veteran. Really impressive.
Indeed it is.
All right. Now, St. Mary's mops up from here. Excited about this. Newcomer of the year, Kennedy Johnson, and sixth woman of the year, Emily Foy. I mean, St. Mary's has got some weapons.
Yeah, they do. And Kennedy Johnson for St. Mary's, the path that she has taken throughout her career, a number of different schools, the decision to go closer to home. I think she was our second guest or our first guest
Second.
On this podcast. 30 minutes a game, 12 points, close to 6 rebounds. But Ann, it's the way she does her business, the way she gets out there and plays the style of play that they want to play at St. Mary's. Get after it, get after each other, get out there and just play your butts off. And that's what she did game in and game out. She's from Hayward. Her family was able to come to games, whether it was at Santa Clara, at USF, or at home against St. Mary's. And it just says a lot for her that like she finishes her career in such style.
And there's such a joy when she's out on the floor. There's grit.
Yeah, and at the sixth woman of the year, Emily Foy, she came off the bench in 12 games, 8 points, 3 rebounds, shot 48%. But she hit some big shots that, that's why coaches voted for her. Your own coach can't vote for you. It's because you're playing them and she hits the game winner. She hits games that like bring you from behind and hurt you. And what a great 1-2 punch for this program these two have been.
I love Foy getting the nod for sixth woman of the year. She was good last year, solid as a freshman, but that Aussie has really stepped up and played her role well.
Indeed.
All right, so great awards to great players. Mary and I have talked about the brackets. She and I will talk offline until this whole tournament is over, but we're just getting started with this edition of Points in the Paint. We've got great guests coming your way.
Great guests.
It's going to be Stu Jackson, the commissioner of the WCC. Then right after that is going to be Sabreena Merchant, one of the great writers for The Athletic, who covers women's basketball like nobody's business. So we've got you covered. Stu, Sabreena, come on back. This episode is brought to you by Jersey Mike's. Welcome back to Points in the Paint. Mary Murphy and I are delighted to welcome our next guest, WCC Commissioner Stu Jackson. Stu, thanks so much for taking the time. Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Given the guests that you've had on previous weeks, this is a little bit of a downgrade, isn't it?
Well, we waited till we got you in there because, yeah, we were going to wait. We were actually saving the best for tournament week. So here we are. This is awesome.
All right, great.
All right. So, Stu, you play at the highest level, you coach at the highest level collegiately and in the NBA. Your front office experiences speak for themselves at the highest level. Your commissionerships on both coasts, whoop, right up there. Couple of years now, you are the WCC commissioner. Why the WCC? It's been 2 great years, but why the WCC?
Well, no, it's a fair question, though. Given the background that you talked about and the many stops that I've had along the way, you can make an argument that they've all sort of culminated with my commissionership at the WCC. Most recently, having run men's basketball for the Big East Conference, it was a conference that's very much like the WCC in that they are basketball centric, heavily reliant on the success of their members in the game of men's and women's basketball. And so, from that standpoint, it was a little bit of a perfect glove fit for me. The conferences, while they're similar, are also very different. One of the things that really attracted me to the WCC, though, was that while they've had a long history and tradition of winning in basketball, their Olympic sports have competed at the national level annually in multiple sports, gaining access to NCAA championships. And I thought that, and I truly believe this, as we continue to prove in both men's and women's basketball, coupled with the success that we've had in Olympic sports, this conference truly can be something special.
Coach, I've known you a long time, and I thought I knew your resume. I didn't realize you'd been an assistant coach at Washington State. So, an interesting perspective for you. The addition of Washington State and Oregon State to the WCC, what do you feel like the impact's been on basketball this year?
Yeah, I think it's been a very positive impact. I feel in women's basketball, it has helped strengthen us both, metrically in terms of our depth, but also competitively, night in and night out. They've added a lot. You take a team like Washington State, who's a little bit younger than Oregon State, but they performed very well this season. Oregon State took a little bit to get their legs under them in terms of understanding what Coach really wanted from them, and here they are in a position where I believe they won 7 out of 8, and are coming into the tournament in a very strong position themselves. And you add to that Gonzaga's continued growth throughout the season. Portland being a senior-laden team and performing at the level I think that we all expected, and it's going to make for an exciting, women's tournament in Vegas next week.
Why is that experience for the student athlete so special? You've experienced it as an athlete and as a coach, those post-season tournaments. What's your goal for these young women to experience while they're in Las Vegas?
Well, it's not only my goal, and it's the goal of our staff, and that it's so vitally important that we provide a gold standard level of excellence championship for these men and women. One, because there are very few times throughout your athletic career that you actually get an opportunity to win a championship. And here you'll have one at our conference championship. But secondly, it's really, in many cases, particularly for the seniors and the graduates, for many of them, it's the last opportunity that they're going to have to compete, at this level, and you want to make it a memorable one. And that falls in, my hands. It's a responsibility I take seriously, and in my staff's hands. Given the level of effort that they have put into putting on both tournaments, it's evident that they care as well, and that's important.
Stu, do you have a memory that it just is precious to you, either as a player or a coach or an administrator, that was in a tournament setting?
Well, yeah, I fortunately, as a coach, I had an opportunity to, on the men's side, to participate as an assistant coach in the men's Final Four. and that was with Providence College way back when in
Tino.
1987, when I got the opportunity to work with Rick Pitino. And the reason it was so special because it was so unexpected. We took a team that didn't finish atop the Big East that year with a group of young men that truly galvanized themselves and were truly focused on one goal, and that was getting to the Final Four. And they did it against all odds, beating an Alabama team in in the Sweet 16, and then Georgetown that year, who had beat the brakes off of us twice within conference play, and we end up beating them in an Elite Eight game to go on to the Final Four. And it's just a memory that I'll never forget. Led by Billy Donovan, who is
Oh,
now the
man.
coach of the Chicago Bulls, who I'm forever indebted as playing a key part in my career and the career of many of those players and coaches.
I mean, Stu, you say it was unexpected, you making that great run as an assistant with Providence. Mary and I talk about the scenarios in the WCC on the women's side in the WCC this year, and there is not a single team in this tournament that doesn't think they can win it. I mean, this thing is up for grabs. There's gonna be some unexpected moments in this year's tournament.
Yeah, without question, and you said it best. It certainly speaks to the depth of this conference, and I truly believe there are, 6, 7, 8 teams that could make a run and actually win this basketball tournament. And that's evidenced by the fact that the differences and the competitive balance that it was exhibited during the regular season. I mean, you have, a team like San Francisco, by way of an example. I mean, my goodness, what Molly Goodenbauer has done with that basketball team after losing one of the better players in conference, and certainly her best player, to be in a position as a fifth seed going into the tournament, it's just amazing. I mentioned previously the runs that Oregon State and Washington State have made to position themselves as a 3 and 4 seed. And then, going into the season, I thought everyone felt that Portland was our best team, that Gonzaga was going to perhaps be in a little bit of a build. Well, here they are going into the tournament as the top 2 seeds. But even with that in mind, as I said, there are 6 or 7 teams that could dethrone those top 2, and that's what makes it, a great tournament and highly anticipated by all of us that are fans.
Stu, I know you're on the men's basketball committee and you work long and hard with that whole group with, where you put people. And right now on the women's side, bracketology has the WCC champ probably like in a 13 or a 14 seed. Do you think in that position, it almost doesn't matter what seed you are? It just is more about the matchup, whether you can kind of power through and win that first game and really make a run in that second round?
Mary, without question, it really doesn't matter. And I'll even go so far as to say that sometimes when you're perhaps not one of the highly seeded teams and you're playing in the first 4, having a game under your belt going into the Thursday and Friday games, the data has proven that that can sometimes be an advantage. So, it doesn't matter what seed you're in. They're all Division One women, capable of beating any other team. It just comes down to the team of you're playing, the matchup, the style of play, your ability to mentally focus. That's ultimately going to determine whether or not you win that first or second game.
Stu, a huge thanks to you for joining us, your commitment to all the sports in the WCC, but Mary and I really dig how committed you are to women's basketball. It shows and it makes a difference.
Yeah, well, if you don't know already as a fan, either you don't stream or you don't have cable, but women's basketball is on the cusp of greatness here, both in terms of competitiveness, financial gain.
Mhm.
And it's obvious that women and their talent and skill level has improved in the last decade. I think beyond anyone foresaw. So get on a bandwagon if you're not already.
Or we're driving that bandwagon. We're driving it, Stu. Thanks a ton. Really looking forward to seeing you in Las Vegas.
You guys are terrific. Thank you.
Stu, you're a good one. We will take a quick break, everybody. Mary and I will be right back with our final segment, so come on back. This episode is brought to you by Jersey Mike's. Welcome back to Points in the Paint. Gosh, Mary, that was a treat to have Stu on board, wasn't it? I could listen to that guy all day.
Yeah, it was great. Look forward to seeing him in Vegas.
Big time. And we're just going to keep delivering the goods because our next guest, what a treat, Sabreena Merchant, finger on the pulse of all things women basketball, wickedly talented staff writer for The Athletic. Sabreena, thanks so much for joining us. Reread your stuff day in and day out. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being a part of Points in the Paint.
I'm so excited to be here, and I'm going to ask them to change my title to Wickedly Talented Staff Writer because that's lovely.
Hey, okay. You look at the WCC tournament, brackets finally established. Big picture, what are you looking at? Could we see some surprises or maybe those favorites get on through and we have a champion that we're kind of anticipating?
Yeah, this time of year, obviously, it's a lot of fun to root for upsets, but I think I'm just going for Chuck. In this tournament, I would love to see Gonzaga versus Portland again, especially after Portland was able to upset them last year. Gonzaga did make the tournament anyway, but I'm sure they've just been itching to get back and reclaim that WCC tournament crown. So,
Sabreena, I think the thing that's been amazing this year in the WCC is nobody is just running away with this thing. And you could see Washington State sneaking in. You can see Oregon State sneaking in, and they've have sort of championship experience in their programs. I mean, the way they're playing right now, does it feel like it really is anybody's ball game?
I'm still inclined, to stick with the WCC OGs in Portland and Gonzaga, but I never bet against Scott Rueck in a tournament. Nobody puts together a game plan quite like Scott.
Pepperdine, 1 year in with a new coach, they're building a new basketball facility. I mean, there really feels like a commitment to men's and women's basketball in the WCC conference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at a program that's had as much success as Washington State winning the Pac-12 tournament 2 years ago and Oregon State going on that Elite Eight run just last season, to bring that kind of historical success into the West Coast Conference, I think just inspires everyone else to want to raise a level, right? And we've historically seen that with Gonzaga and Portland, and to just see it up and down the line. I mean, it's not just the West Coast Conference. We see it all across the country and the professional levels. Like, everyone's realizing that this is a really great time, if you already haven't, to be investing in women's basketball.
If you look at what the Charlie Creams of the world in terms of bracketology, when you look at where the WCC tournament champion might land, how much does that matter? Or is it more of the bracket you're in and that first round matchup to give you a chance that, hey, we've got a chance?
Yeah, I think so much of it is just about fit and matchup, right? Like, you look at a player like, Yvonne Ejim, and like, if it's a team with a slightly weaker front court, like that's a great matchup for Gonzaga, right? And if it's a team that doesn't defend the 3-point line particularly well, hello, Portland. So I think it's not so much who you end up or what seed you end up, it's, who you end up playing. Ideally, maybe somewhere a little bit West Coast adjacent so that the fans can travel. But I think the seed is probably the least of anyone's concern so long as they get into that big dance.
Sabreena, thanks so much for taking the time. We appreciate this moment, but more than anything else, we appreciate what you do for all the women who play, all the coaches who give these young women the opportunity. Thanks for shining a light on the game that we love so much.
It's a pleasure to be part of this space with both of you. So thank you for having me.
Mir, let's take a look at the brackets one more time. And I'd love for you to focus on those lower seeds, if you will, and who might have some momentum as they move through the week in Vegas.
I don't know if anyone has momentum right now. I think it's, and if you're a coach, it's just a game by game, a quarter by quarter kind of thing. But the thing that is so fascinating about tournaments is how dangerous teams are when you're not the favorite. And you just roll into this thing like, what have you got to lose? Just go out there and play your best basketball and hope you live for another day. And you just go out there and put everything absolutely on the line. And, again, Pepperdine, San Diego, Pepperdine won 2 of those games, but lots of motivation on the San Diego part. LMU, Santa Clara, they split the season series. Again, there's no one that you're rolling into this thing and saying they're a favorite, and that's the message of this entire season for me. And we'll go into a weekend and you do this and you can just check and you go, oh, they're going to win, and you look at the game when it's over. It's like that's not what happened.
Mhm.
And I mean, I loved what Stu Jackson said about San Francisco and the job that Molly Goodenbauer
Yes.
did. But the 2 possible teams that San Francisco could see are LMU and Santa Clara, and they split the season series on with each of those teams. So really, who is gonna be able to defensively get the matchups that they want? Who's gonna get the scoring that they need? Who stays out of foul trouble? Who stays healthy? And those are all the stories that are gonna unfold, and that's why people need to watch. Need to, if you're not gonna watch, get yourself to Las Vegas because it is gonna be an intriguing matchup. And I know, Sabrina talked about Portland and Gonzaga in that final because it's been epic. It's been must see. But will that be what happens, or will it be a semifinal game that trips one of them up? You look at what Portland's done and the number of close games they've had.
That's
Michael Meek must just be like, my God, saying extra prayers and just going in and just, but they've got lots of experience in close games. We know that, but they're on a roll, and Gonzaga had been on a roll till they lost. So it's just one of those, like, what's going to give? What's going to be the difference? It's going to be an amazing tournament.
and it'll be fun to see how Oregon State and Washington State adapt to their first ever WCC tournament. It's a different format than the Pac-12. This is brand new for them, even though they bring veterans to the table.
And the other thing that's different is the venue. They haven't played at that venue, and all these other teams, somebody on their team, somebody on their
Right.
staff
Yep.
has played and coached at the Orleans Arena. So, and that makes a difference as far as the sight lines, as far as the floor, how it feels. All of that goes into the recipe of winning a game.
All right. So here's even better news. Mary and I will be in Las Vegas
We
at the
will.
Orleans Arena for every single second of every single minute of every single game of the WCC tournament. Mary, I'm so excited. I know you are too.
All my bags are packed. Well, maybe not quite yet, but they will be.
All right, good. And what's really cool is our final show, our final Points in the Paint podcast will take place right after those nets are cut down at the arena. We will talk to the championship coach. We will talk to the championship players. The environment and vibe will be really cool.
Yeah, the joy, the
Yeah.
relief, the elation. Stu kind of talked about that too with the run they had at Providence. Those moments live forever in your memories, and I can't wait to witness it and then talk about it with the winning teams.
It'll be great. So a lot of energy, a lot of top shelf basketball coming at you. Get your rest. Mary and I are going to hydrate, and we'll see everybody in Vegas. Have a good one, everybody.